Good morning, everybody. It is me, Heather Nichols, this morning for the TE Live. Welcome, welcome. It's good to see all of you today. As you pop in, let me know who's watching. Let me know where you're watching from. Are you getting crafty today? That is like the most important question, right? So happy March, everybody. It's the beginning of March. We started March yesterday in Minnesota with a lot of snow. I look this way a lot. It's because my window is there. And so when I think about weather, I look at the window. So that is what is happening. I was watching myself on the video the other day and I'm like, you keep looking over at that window. And they're probably like, what is over there? So anyway, we got about 4.5 inches of snow yesterday. It kind of messed up the roads and all of that stuff. And we had plans, we had to cancel and everything. So it was quite a weathery, wintry day here in Minnesota yesterday. I actually just looked at something. So where I am, I'm in central Minnesota. We have gotten 64.8 inches of snow so far this winter season. So that's from December until now. So we're really close to breaking some records here. I know we already broke records for our snowfall December, January, February, but it is definitely winter. And we were laughing because we have a trip with our camper coming up at kind of the end of April, and that's like 6 weeks away. Not very long, maybe just over 6 weeks away, and we have literally over 2 feet of snow on the ground. The drifts are so tall. We are to the point we are trying to, clear our driveway and sidewalk. There's nowhere for this snow to go. It's unreal how much snow we have this year. So yeah, so that was the beginning of our March. I see lots of you popping in. It's 60 degrees in Tennessee, Kelly, and all these people, there was some rain somewhere. Good morning, Belinda from Texas. Good morning, Juanita. It's good to see you guys all in here today. Candy said her dog was happy for the snow. The vet appointment was rescheduled. You're up in Duluth, and I know you've gotten a ton of snow. You think 64.8 inches a lot in central Minnesota? Duluth and up on the North Shore, they have gotten so much snow. It's gloomy in Kansas this morning. Good morning, Gina. It's good to see you. So, yay. It's been a couple weeks since I've seen you guys, and I'm excited to get crafty with you today. Right now, let's talk about what's going on in Tailored Expressions land. I was going to do a recap of what's happening around town, around our crafty community. And this week was our kit release for February, the In the Abstract 2 kit. So this kit is, I think, really cool. I know we had the In the Abstract kit come out. It was like a little over 2 years ago. And that was where you could stencil all the shapes and create these abstract designs. And the kit is really cool. But this kit is one that takes the guesswork out of creating an abstract design, because abstract design can be complex. It can be difficult to do. It's fun to play with, but sometimes you want to get that look without having to think about it. Farley, your kit comes today. You're going to have fun. This has been a super fun kit to play with. In fact, we're going to play with it again today. I'm going to show you a few, some stuff. Just wait. It's going to be super fun, super messy today too. Yeah, so it's a really cool kit. It's got the quad thing. So not only you have a pre-planned design, you also, it's that whole beauty of being able to make 4 card background designs all at the same time, which I love the quads for that. Good morning, Martha. It's good to see you too. So make sure you stop by the blog, because if you go back to Tuesday's post, you'll get the details about the kit. There are still some kits left. There are not many kits left. So if this is something that's catching your eye and you want to play with it, don't wait, because it'll be gone. And then, like I said, we don't guarantee that we're going to bring any of that stuff back in the kit. Maybe, maybe not. So make sure if you're interested that you go and pick up a kit. There's a video today from Joy Baldwin. She makes 8 cards in the video this morning, and she does a set of cards with just the stencil, and then she does a set of cards where she's using the foilet panels, and she shows you kind of how you can use the foilet panels and stencil them individually to create your own color combinations in different ways. So make sure you stop by and check that out. The cards are beautiful, and I love how she used a color combination And on the first set of cards, she used a heavier hand. And on the second set of cards, she used a lighter hand. And the difference in the cards is beautiful. And then when she added the foil panels, gives it a whole different look. So it's a super versatile kit. There's so many occasions you can use these designs for. My daughter is an art major up here at St. Cloud State, and I got a text when she saw my post about the cards I made with the kit, and she's like, Mom, that kit looks like so much fun. I love it. I love the leaves from the stamp set in there. I love the stencils. So it's a beautiful kit. So yeah, so check that out if you haven't already. And if you go to Tuesday's post, you can hop to all the design team members' blogs and see what they created with it. What else is coming up? We have Virtual Stamp Joy coming up next week. So I'm excited to head down to Iowa next week and hang out with Taylor and a few other crafty friends and join all of you virtually for that. So if you're going to be there, I can't wait. I've been finishing up some projects that you're going to see at Stamp Joy this week. So, and then also next week before Stamp Joy starts. So Stamp Joy is like end of next week, but Tuesday of next week, I'm sure you guys are all wondering, and I know Taylor kind of hinted at this already, next week is our Easter release. So I know you probably have been waiting. When is that coming? It is next week. It is a big release. There is so much fun new Easter products coming. I have gotten to play with some of them. I want to play with more. So how do you guys feel about an Easter sneak peek this morning? I'm pretty sure you're going to say yes. So let's start off with this cuteness. I'm always like, if I'm going to make one project with this, I'm going to make many. So I've got my Easter crafting started. Are you ready for this cuteness? Here it comes. Ah, look at them. So this release is treat wrap. Super, super cute. So I'm excited to fill those with little goodies and treats and things like that. So it's kind of funny. There's a little bit of a delay. So I see like all the love come like after it happens. So I'm just waiting for all those hearts to come up for that. All right. And then this next one, this is actually a peek at the exclusive set that you can earn. And it's only for a few days during the Easter release. So are you ready? Here it comes. There we go. And actually you got a few peeks on that one. There were some sentiments, some little die cut eggs from something. Just saying, if you like the gnomes, be excited. Okay. And then this one, hold on. Let's just say I'm ready to get all of my Easter baskets all labeled and tagged. Here it comes. That's more stitching. That's right. You saw it. There's more stitching on there. And actually there's a few things happening on that one too. So I'm excited for you guys to all see this. Again, I don't get assigned all the products. You guys are seeing a really small sneak peek of what is coming next week. We will post sneak peeks up on the blog on Saturday. And also Charlie has been sharing like really big sneak peeks with you guys on the Facebook and Instagram as well. So you can get a better look and plan for your Easter purchases. So make sure to watch out for that because I'm sure she'll be posting all of that again. So yeah, it was really fun. I'm excited to play with more of the products so that I can get some more of my Easter crafting done. It has been Easter crafting central going on in my house, and it's going to continue because there's so much Easter goodness that has been happening. So, all right. So let's talk about what we're going to do today. You guys, I'm glad you like the Easter sneak peeks. There's lots of hearts flying across my screen. So yes, it's going to be good. So, okay, so let's talk about what we're going to do today. The beginning of March means it's time for the newest TE Maker Challenge. And so that's what we're going to do today. And the challenge is right up my alley this time. It is splatters. So all we're doing is you make a project and you include splatters in some way on your project, and it counts for the TE Maker Challenge. We want to see your projects, and then you're going to need to hashtag it, hashtag TE Maker Challenge. You can enter like 3 times, and then you'll be in a drawing for a $25 gift certificate. So Make sure that you, I love to see your projects. I say this every time. We talk about your guys' projects when we have marketing meetings and things like that. Did you see so-and-so's project? Did you see so-and-so who did this with that project? So we talk about your projects. We love to see them. We love to see what you're creating. So a lot of you have been asking, I want to learn more about splatters. So we're going to get kind of into splattering and the different options that you might have for splattering on your projects. And then we're going to create actually with the new kit and do a little bit of splattering with the stencils. And I'll show you how we're going to do that. So I'm going to flip you up to my ceiling and then down to my desk. So give me just a second here. So we're going to go up and we're going to flip you down. There we go. So there's that beautiful in the abstract kit. And if you notice, there is a quadrillion splatters happening on this project. And I did all of the splatters in different ways. So I'm going to show you all sorts of different ideas for that. I am going to grab my apron because I mean, splatters are messy no matter what, but one of the techniques that we did, I got everywhere. So I got to get prepared and protect my clothing today. So I'm going to throw my apron on. So before we actually get to making the cards, let's talk a little bit about the different things that you can use to splatter. So of course, my very favorite thing to splatter with, I've splattered with lots of stuff over the years, is these are kind of my tried and true things that I love to splatter with. This is a Copic opaque white ink. And then this is liquid watercolor. So these are the things that I grab all the time when I'm splattering with that. This is an open pot, so I usually just use my brush to pull the ink out of there. The ones we sell in the Tailored Expression store look like a nail polish bottle, and they're hard to get that out of or to stick your brush in. So you'll need to use like a toothpick or a small paintbrush to pull that out to use it on an acrylic block. So I've got a big acrylic block here. You could use an acrylic block for a palette. You could use some acetate for a palette. Whatever you have that's kind of a slick surface. So all I usually do for that, and I'm going to grab a piece of cardstock so we can actually look at the different splatters, is I'm going to drip this on here. And I'm going to use my water brush. I have to get some water in a cup, and I may have to step away just for a second to do that. And we're just going to pick that up on a brush. And then what I do is I'm tapping the brush on my finger to add splatters to my project. The rule of thumb with splattering with a paintbrush is the smaller brush you have, the smaller splatters you have. The bigger paintbrush you have, the bigger splatters you have. But also, if your brush is really wet, you're going to get bigger splatters as well. So there's there's the size of the brush, but also how wet your brush is. So I'm going to quickly fill up my water container. So hold 1 second, please, while I go and do that. Because we're going to use water as well. So I've got my water container full. So if you don't have a water brush like this, you can just use a regular paintbrush and get your brush wet, pick up your paint or ink or whatever, and again, you just tap it over your finger to splatter onto your project. Okay, so those are my two favorite things to splatter with. But what if you don't have this? And what if you don't have this? You can use lots of different things. One of the things that you can also use is an ink refill. And again, you're just going to drip that right onto your acrylic block. And like I said, you can use a water brush, you can use a paintbrush. You're going to pick that up, same as with the liquid watercolor, and tap that over your finger to splatter onto your project. This is an avocado, so it's not super dark. You're going to notice that the ink refill does act a little bit different than the watercolor paint. There we go. So just play around with the things that you have. Now, what if you don't have anything in a bottle and you're like, well, I don't have anything to splatter with. I don't know what to use to splatter with. get your ink pads out. So let's see, I'm gonna grab my Mocha ink pad here. And how do you splatter with this? You're gonna take your ink pad, you're gonna press it onto whatever surface you're using as your palette. And that's how you can pick up that color and then splatter it onto your project. So that's how you can use the ink pad. And same thing too with the white ink pad. It works exactly the same way. If you want to do white splatters, but you don't have the white ink, again, just press your white ink pad onto the block or your palette, pick it up with your brush, and tap it on your project. And you can have your white splatters. So as stampers, I think a lot of us have at least ink pads to do that with. And if you have ink pads, more than likely you have refills. So like I said, I use liquid watercolor. You can also use just like the craft paint like this. This is just that craft paint you can buy at a craft store, like for $1 or whatever. And you can also use this paint. Somebody was asking, I just saw it go by, the paintbrush number, how does that relate to the size? So the bigger the number, the bigger the brush for a paintbrush. Don't you wish like every numbering system was the same? It's, you know, then we would just know. So like this is a 4, this is a little bit finer, this is a 6, this is a little bit bigger. So that gives you an idea of what that means on the number of the brush. So like if you're going to do a teeny brush for teeny details, they actually have like 0 and 000 and different things like that. So you can get super fine brushes. And then you can also get the super big brushes. I have my paintbrush box over here. So let's take a look at, let's see. And of course there's all different shapes of brushes too. I tend to go for the round brush when I'm using, here's a 12. This is a different brand of brush, so it's got a little bit different bristles on the top. But everybody, I think this is like with stamping and with everything else that's out there, everybody's gonna like doing things differently. Like some techniques that work for me might not work as well for you, but you might like something different. Like you might like splattering with the ink pads. You might like splattering with the acrylic paint versus something else. So it's a very personal choice. You might like to tap it on here. You might want to take a brush or something like that and tap your paintbrush on that. So play around with the tools that you have in front of you and try things out. It's all about play to figure out what you like the best. So, okay, so this is that cheap craft paint that's like $1 at the craft stores, and I'm just going to add a little drop of that to my acrylic block. Again, you can use water to pick up. I actually put my water brush right in my water container. Pick up that paint and then tap to get splatters on your thing. So acrylic paint like that, and acrylic paint comes in a bottle like this. It comes in a tube like this. You can splatter with all of this stuff. So see what you have and what you like to use. The other thing that's great for white splattering is white gouache. The difference between acrylic, so acrylic to me is more of a plastic based paint. This is a permanent after it dries kind of paint. Gouache is basically, the best way to describe it is an opaque watercolor. So it's water soluble, so it can be reactivated with water. But it's opaque. So I'll just show you a little bit of that. And there's lots of different brands of gouache out there. And of course, I'm not going to be able to open this because we're live. There we go. But again, it's the same thing where you're going to just squeeze a little out in the tube. And then you're going to use your brush to pick that up. Again, and tap it over your finger to splatter. So many different ways to splatter. The other one that is good, I'm just going to do this to clean that off quick, is maybe you have watercolor cakes. And I already saw this scroll by, but I never get the name right. The Ganzi-Tambi watercolors are another thing that we sell for metallic. This is the phonetic watercolors. These are actually very, very similar to the Ganzi-Tambi watercolors, both in the quality and the colors. So I actually have the other ones, but my daughter has them somewhere. So this is the ones that I have out on my desk. And again, you're just going to take your brush, you're going to get it wet to pick up the paint. You can use Crayola watercolor paints to do this. Pick up the paint and then tap that over your finger to splatter onto your project. Ooh, Gina, Wink of Stella. That, it would be shimmery and beautiful. That would be kind of that clear shimmer, which we had. I don't know if we still have the shimmer watercolor. Another thing you can splatter with, besides a paintbrush, I would say paintbrush is probably my favorite thing, and there are some brushes out there that are designed for splattering. I don't have any of those, but they have kind of the long plastic bristles on there that they're made splatter brushes, but you can use a toothbrush as well. This is where it gets messy. So I'm gonna get my toothbrush wet. I'm gonna pick up some of this craft paint. Now you could use a end of a paintbrush or something like that. Run it through. This is not as easy to control. I would say this is probably not my favorite way to splatter, but you know what? When you are looking for some different ideas or different tools, maybe you're looking for a different effect, the toothbrush will give you another effect. So Lolly, you're learning a whole bunch about stuff you own. Perfect. Oh, perfect pearls would be beautiful too for shimmer as well. So I would say, like, I can't show you everything that you can use to splatter in this short amount of time. And I don't know what you have at your house. So I would encourage you to go in and look at what you have. You know, me coming down to these two things being my favorite is because I have tried so many different things to splatter. And for me, this right here gives me the effect that I want on my projects. So yes, if you are splattering, I just saw Tiffany say, no matter what I use, I make a mess. I have splatters all over my desk. You could splatter in a box. That's totally fine if you want to contain the mess. Everything looks like this at my house, all splatters. And my husband has commented, he's like, there are splatters on our floor in front of your desk. So that is part of it. For me, I just go in my workspace, and that is just part of how I work. You can contain your mess as much as you want. There's no issues with that. Like I said, a box works really great for that too. So now that I've kind of talked about the different kind of techniques you can use to splatter, and maybe I don't even know all the techniques. Maybe, oh, there is one other thing I haven't shown you yet. If you would like to splatter, but you don't necessarily want to do this and this, you can get a stamp that has splatters on it. So there is the Splatter background stamp that you can get. So you can ink this up and add splatters to your project. And we are going to do that on the project. Also, if you have the sketchbook bouquet stamp set, there is a small splatter stamp in there. So maybe you would rather stamp your splatters, and that's totally fine. And that totally counts for the challenge as well. So you can definitely do, I guess I would call these more faux splatters as well. So, and you can ink this up in white. You could emboss these splatters. I mean, you could get crazy with how you make these splatters look. So remember that there's some different options out there for you if you don't want to use a paintbrush and do splatters. Years ago, and we've talked about this before, there was a stamp set from Stampin' Up. Remember when Stampin' Up was like the only place to get the good stamps? And they had a set that included a splatter stamp, and I used that stamp to pieces because I wanted splatters on all of the things. So there you go. So Splatter-a-rama this morning as well. Ooh, Lolly, using a toothbrush on a gel plate. That is something that I would definitely like to explore for sure. I have to pull my gel press out, you guys. I have not done gel printing for a long time. You know how you just get into other things and that sort of thing, and you just, yep, I haven't gotten back to it for a while. So I love it though. And I like to do it with when I have people over too. It's fun to do all together and ooh and ah over all of the things that everybody's making. Okay, so let's grab This is the Create and Quads Abstract Stencil Set, and I'm going to show you how you can incorporate stenciling into your splattering into your stenciling. And we're going to do some different splatters as we make this project, so you can see how, typically I would splatter at the end, but you can use splatters as a design element in your project. So I'm using this stencil set, but I challenge you to look at the other stencils in your collection once we get done with this, so you can see what other things are going to work for you. Jamie's like, I use that SU set on everything all the time. We all did. We all love that set. So I have the Create and Quads paper. This is the toffee paper. Let's come up a little bit. That we're going to stencil on. I've got wetness all over here. And I know you guys just watched Taylor do this. I am a pixie spray girl. So I am going to pixie spray my stencils. That is just my preferred way. She says she's the lazy crafter and she holds her stencils down. So yes, but when you have to peel and stick tape a million times, to me, I don't want to do that. I would rather spray my stencil and get it down. There are ways. Everybody crafts differently, you guys. So I'm going to turn this upside down and we're going to set up our stencil here on the back of that. I've already gotten white on my thing. So I'm just going to stick a little adhesive on here. And this one is cut that 8 by 10 and a, what am I trying to say? 10 and a half, 8 by 10 and a half. And I'm just going to line up those outside guidelines around the edge of my cardstock piece. I'm going up over my camera here, and then I'll grab a pen, which I had one floating around here. Oh my goodness. Hold on, I gotta open my drawer. Grab a pen. There we go. And we're just gonna mark those guidelines. This is just gonna make it easier to get things lined up for each layer. And I am going to actually, let's take a look at the cards that I created as a sample. And I want to use the same colors, but we're gonna do it in a different order so you can see the difference in what it looks like to change the colors. You guys are talking about the Tim Hortons splatter brush. Yes, there are special brushes out there that are made for splattering. So on this one, I used avocado for the first stencil, and I think I'm going to switch and I'm going to do the honey, or should I do the red? The only one that you really need to pay attention to is on the third stencil, this great big wide open stencil that stencils kind of over everything. You want to choose a color that's not going to overpower the other two. So for this card, I would not do mulled wine for that large one, and I'll talk about it when we get to that stencil. I would do either the avocado or the honey. So I've got mulled wine, honey, avocado, and sugar cube. So let's start with the mulled wine this time. So I'm gonna grab that. And of course I'm going on toffee. I always go on toffee. I thought about doing white today, but then I'm like, no. I especially love toffee and the different colors you can get on toffee. So I'm just gonna go with what I love. I do love white too. I create on white too. Sugar cube. Okay, so we're just gonna blend these in with the mulled wine. Making sure I'm going in both directions. These wide open spaces give you a lot of opportunity to be creative. I know if you attended Stamp Joy in the fall and we did some stenciling there, and then we layered other stencils over these great big areas to add pattern into those openings. So we're going to do something similar here with the splattering. into the openings of the stencil. And I'm going to start with the stamp so you guys can see how I'm going to handle that big background stamp on here, because this isn't going to fit in your MISTI. Okay, I'm about there. Good thing I'm a fast blender. They all make fun of me for blending fast, but although you'll all be yelling at me during the virtual stamp joy to slow down. Okay, so I've got the mulled wine done, and I'm going to use the stamp to add splatters. And I'm going to do that with mocha ink. And I'm just going to leave the stamp on the backer board here and stamp that way. So I'm going to ink up that stamp. Thanks, Debbie. I definitely have more of an earth-toned look. This one, the one I did for the release, was kind of a boho look. So I'm just stamping over the top. And again, remember, the splatters don't have to be exact because they're splatters. And so I'm just really literally stamping over the top of the different areas. You can even go back if you want more heavy splatters and do it again. Mary, I'm making it difficult for you not to add to the cart. This is great, and I know we say that all the time. But the reason we say it is because, you guys, when we are planning the products that we want to give to you, we want these products too. And so we want it to do things that we love, and we want to share certain techniques, and we want to do certain things. And so if we are doing something that we love, we're pretty sure you're going to love it too. So you could do this with other stamps too. I mean, this is not just this. You could do the linen stamp over some of these openings as well, but today is all about splatters. So we are just splattering. So that's with that one. And again, if you wanted to use that small splatter stamp as well, like maybe I just want to touch up a few areas, you could just go back in and add some extra splatters with that little stamp. So again, that's from that Sketchbook Bouquet stamp set. And even if you don't have this kit, or you're not planning on getting this kit, you can use these techniques with other things you have. Don't forget that. Okay, so let's peel off that first layer and check out my little splattered sections of my project. Like little mocha splatters, all contained in their little stenciled shapes like that. Okay, so stencil number 2, we got right here. Let me pixie spray this. I actually should move my Easter projects before I splatter more, because I need to mail them for Taylor, and she's not going to like it if I'm like, you know what? They all got ruined during the live. Okay, so I'm going to line up my registration marks to add that next stencil over the top. I'm on my tiptoes looking over my camera so I can get it just right. I'm looking at that etched alignment guide around the outside. I'm also looking at my squares that I marked with my pen. I'm feeling pretty good about, hold on, no I'm not. It might take a minute to do this, but it is totally worth it to make sure that everything is where you want it to go. So, okay, I am going to do, let me think, maybe I'll do honey this time. What did I do in my other cards? Yes, let's do honey on this layer. So here's my honey. And I tend to use my kind of toffee brush to do honey. My brush is a little bit wet. I actually gave them all a bath last night, and it's not totally dry. So I'm just going to dry it on my apron. Good thing I got my apron on. Let's just hope this works here. Stencil in that honey ink, and I love how the colors overlap. And then you create new colors and new effects and things like that, which is so much fun. Yeah, you can see my brush is a little bit wet, but it will work out in the end. Usually they dry, so maybe, in fact, I'm peeling my paper a little bit. Ignore that. Let me see here. I'm going to grab a drier brush. We're going to go for the gold brush today. A little bit of wetness still in my stamp pad. Okay, and then we got the rainbow down here. And I'm not doing any special blending. I'm just laying down one layer of color, and then we're gonna do some splattering on top of that. I know that Taylor did some really great blending techniques. So there's so many different ways that you can approach adding color to these different abstract designs. Lisa, I have been told that I'm fast. And I told Taylor, you want me to get all these projects done, I gotta be fast. I'm also very heavy-handed. I'm not, and this one, like I said, I'm just laying down blocks of color. So I don't have a light touch either. So I think that helps get the ink down fast too. Okay, so let's do on this one, let's do the white. So I am going to use my brush, and I've got all of these different whites on here. I'm going to just grab some white acrylic paint. That's that one there, and we're going to add the white splatters onto the honey color. And yes, your stencils are going to get splattered. That is part of it. So I just am picking up the color on my brush, I'm tapping this over my finger and splattering it onto my project. Yes, Debbie. So Debbie is pointing out something great. If things don't look absolutely perfect on your projects, I love splatters because they actually, not only do they add an extra texture element to your project, it kind of hides some of that stuff that maybe you messed up. Maybe you didn't quite color something perfectly or whatever. I'm not saying that I make all my projects a mess, that I need to splatter everything. I love the rustic texture and look to splatters. That's something that I just really love. But when you have a project that you've colored and it doesn't seem like it's quite perfect, adding splatters can really help. Okay, so there's a look at that with the white. So you can see there where the colors overlapped and we got splatters of different colors kind of going together. Jamie, yes, it would. I think it would look beautiful on buttercream as well. Okay, stencil number 3. This is the one with that great big opening where I was talking about when you have this great big opening, be mindful of the color that you're going to use in that opening because it's covering a lot. And if it's a color that's can take over, like this would be the mulled wine. To me, the mulled wine is the color that's the bold color that's darker, that would maybe take over something. That's not the color you want for this part of the stencil. And I'll actually show you, I discovered this doing my project for the release, and I'll show it to you, just so you can see that not everything we do is perfect. So here is my first go when I did my color combination for my original projects that I shared on Tuesday, and I did Spearmint for that great big shape. And this is Peaches and Cream. This color here just totally got lost behind that great big shape. And I wondered if it would be okay, because sometimes you get some cool effects like that, because we have the way that our inks are. Sometimes colors lift other colors, or just the way they combine together. But I totally didn't use this because that was so lost. It was just kind of disappeared. So keep that in mind when you are looking at the different parts of the stencil, and this is for a lot of different designs. Is it going to cover up and take away from the overall design? We're going to go ahead and use green here, and I'm going to grab my dry brush because this one is also not dry yet. Maybe I was up too late last night, you guys. It was too little bit of time to get this ready. Okay, so avocado here. And I'm thinking we're going to get the, oh no, I know what I'm going to do. We're going to toothbrush this one. I'm trying to think, maybe we'll do a different color here. I think the cool thing about the lives, you guys, is, you know, the other videos that I make are edited down to fit a certain time length, because sometimes you only have 5 minutes to watch a video to learn something. But being able to do the lives, you guys get to actually see me creating projects in real time. And Rita, your kit just arrived. Yes. But watching me do projects in real time, I've always thought about, you know, sometime if I would do a live stream or something like that where you guys could watch, I sometimes just, I don't know, it just putter away, and it takes me a long time to put things together sometimes, so I don't know if that would be, I don't know, and I'd be worried, you know, you guys really want to watch something for 3 hours? I'm not sure. Maybe like a Zoom craft. I do Zoom craft with friends, but you guys can see how I'm creating in real time. This project was planned, so maybe I have to do something where it's unplanned sometime too. Okay. I'm going to fill in. This is just a big shape to get that color down. Getting my arm work out today. I think it was Emily talking about in one of her videos about the arm strengthening with the ink blending. And of course, too, you can always blend into this line and leave some of this other color showing as well, or cover the whole thing. I think I'm going to splatter also with, because I did the mocha ink on, what did I do first? Oh, over the other thing. But I think I'm going to do, so let's do chocolate truffle this time. So another brown, but we're going to splatter with a toothbrush this time. Or let's see, what if we added in, no, let's do chocolate truffle. Okay, so to do that, and we're going to use a toothbrush this time. So where did I start with my chocolate truffle liquid watercolor? Make sure I'm picking up the right color. I'm going to go ahead and drip that in here. I'll get my toothbrush just a little wet. And I'm going to just stick my toothbrush in here. Oh, you know what? This was avocado. Oh, let's just do it. Let's do avocado splatters. And I'm just going to splatter. So this is really gives like that all over look. Maybe we'll add chocolate truffle as well. So this will give the ink a nice texture, adding some of those same ink colors in there. But just for a little extra contrast, my fingers are going to be lovely colors today. Let's grab some chocolate truffle. And there's some darker stuff. So this is where it gets messy, when I've got toothbrush splattering happening all over. I think, you know, even though I have lots of splatters over with the technique that I tend to use with my other brush, it's a lot more controlled than this toothbrush party. I think there's a time and a place for a toothbrush party, but on my regular card projects, I'm not sure that that's something I would do all of the time. Just keeping it real here. Okay, so let's peel this off and see what this looks like. Looking pretty good. We've lost a little bit of the white down here after blending over it and stuff. can always go back and add more splatters. So let's add the white layer. And the one thing that we haven't done yet is a metallic. So I'm thinking let's do white, and then let's add the metallic paint splattered over the top of that. Okay, so let me grab my pixie spray. And add my stencil over the top. And my white blender brush is wet. So let me see, my little bitty brush. You know what I'm gonna do? Because my little brush is gonna take a little bit longer. So I'm gonna grab one of my sponge daubers this time to apply my white ink. So another option, if you don't have the white blender brush, you can use a sponge dauber. This is the Nouveau sponge dauber. And I usually kind of pounce and twist when I'm doing that. Jamie's got anxiety from the toothbrush thing. I think I'm pretty easygoing about stuff, but that's a little messy for me. The effect is cool, but that's a little messy for me. And I like, I like a mess. I like getting my hands in there. Part of it is I think, it just goes everywhere when you splatter with that toothbrush. There's not a lot of control there. Sort of, but not really. So again, my white blender brush is wet because I said I cleaned it last night, and yes, I might have been up late. This little triangle. Don't forget this little triangle. Both Joy and Emily forgot this triangle if you watch their videos. I think they both go back and fill it in after. But this little triangle is easy to miss. Tammy, you weren't sure if the kit was for you, but now you can't wait to play with it. It is so much fun. And I think that's the beauty of this, is it's so much fun. To try these different things. There's so many different things you can do with this kit. I'm being super messy. You don't have to be super messy with this kit. Where did my regular water brush go? I'm gonna go back to my tried and true water brush. And I think I'm gonna do this gold up here. It's a nice bright gold. Get a little water. I'm going to splatter that gold over the sugar cube ink. Jamie, it doesn't surprise me that you're not into that sort of mess. I think there's a lot of people that aren't in that. Like, look at my hands, you guys. I got to go to the post office today. Hopefully, they see me enough there. I think, when I bring my packages into Mailer Taylor, and some of them ask me, what is Tailored Expressions? What is in this package? You come here every week to mail these things. I think they've gotten used to me now. Okay, so I got the gold splattered over the white. I need a clean paper towel to wipe my brush off on. I may still add a few extra splatters. I just can't help myself sometimes. So let's peel that off for that full reveal. Oh, you guys, that looks so good. I have my pile of dirty stencils over here. So I've gotten all of the stenciling done. I'm just going to twist to get off that board. And there is a look at all of the different colors with the different splatters. And I think it's actually kind of cool. You could just leave this like this. I'm going to add just a few more splatters because, I just can't help myself. But look at that gold on the white. Wear gloves to the PO. Yes, I think this turned out really, really good. And then I'm going to go back to my Copic Opaque White for my last few splatters and just add a little bit of white. What is the water brush that I'm using? So this is the Faber-Castell brush, and I've shown this brush to Taylor lots of times. We have a brush in the store that's similar. It has a smaller tip on it that also will work for this. This is just my favorite, and I tell her every time, and I think it's just one that we haven't been able to get yet in the store, but this is the one that I use all of the time. I'm constantly buying a bunch of these. So I'm picking up that Copic Opaque White ink, adding just a few more white splatters, not a lot, just a few, because. Okay, I think that feels pretty good to me. I think one of the things I liked about the gold, I love the gold on the white. I think that's a great look. But I think one of the things I loved, I really love that gold over the mulled wine. That's beautiful. So it's a different, totally different look. Same colors. I guess I used white in the same area, but still a completely different effect with that. So, okay, let's cut these apart. Let me grab my paper cutter. It's way over here. Okay, let's slide this up here. I am just going to take a paper towel and just dab the extra water off the top. That's one thing I found too. I mean, I'm not going to wipe. I'm just going to press and pick up those extra water droplets that's on there. You can let this air dry if you want. For the most part, those splatters are just going to stay where they are, because once you've given them just a few minutes to dry, they're there. They're not going anywhere. Okay, so let's trim this in half. So again, this was the Create and Quads paper piece. So this was already cut to that smaller size. If you had used a full sheet of cardstock, you would need to trim that 1/4 inch off of the top and bottom and sides. And this has the wire. So if you need to just like move it a little bit to adjust for the design, you can totally do that. And then again, this way at 5 1/4. Whoop, whoop. To get our 4 panels. I'll lay out all the cards together at the end so you can see the cards that I did before and then the cards that I did now. Okay, so the great thing about these two, you can get fancy. Like the cards that I did, and I don't have them because Taylor has them. I did a lot with some of the die cut shapes and created lots of layers. But I mean, this is beautiful. Let's put a sentiment, a simple embellishment on here, and you're good to go. You could actually just put a sentiment on these and they would be good to go. So I have card bases already to go that were cut. These are olive because I wanted just a little bit darker on there. So let's do the olive. So let me grab my adhesive. I'm going to flip my placemat over because this little adhesive spot is catching all of my things. Let me turn it this way too. So we're more back to regular dimensions. There are splatters on everything, you guys. And you could use some of our other dies to cut these out. You could add the frame impressions with these diagonal stitch stacklets. You could add the thin frames on here for another kind of effect. There's all sorts of ways that you can add to your project. This was avocado and this is olive. So they are, when you put color on toffee cardstock, and Taylor talked about this too, it changes the color a little bit because the color of the toffee is going to add that color to your ink. And so it's something that I craft with toffee all the time. I know that it's going to happen. On my original cards, like I said, this is peaches and cream. It looks very pink on here because of the color that is created when you put on the toffee. So when I added the cardstock blobs on there, I actually cut them from rose water because that matched better than peaches and cream on there. So just keep that in mind when you're going on toffee. It does change the color of your ink. It mutes your color and it kind of adds, because toffee has kind of that brown yellow tone in there. And so it's going to change your colors a little bit. Mulled wine is such a bold color. That one doesn't change a whole lot. But like the avocado is a little bit lighter. So just keep that in mind. And you might have to sit and kind of match your colors and that sort of thing, but that's what this is all about, is putting things together and playing with color. Okay, make sure this is not upside down so I don't put my cards upside down. Oh, you know what? I didn't add the stamping on here, the simple silhouettes. So I think we can still do that here, even though I've got them on the backs. We'll make it happen. So excited that these cards actually almost look done, right? I'm just going to make sure that my hold on, I have sentiment still in my MISTI here. Okay, so let's pop that in there. Let's grab the stamp set here. And I'm going to use different than what I used before. Let's do this one here. So I'm just going to set that where I want it to go. And then if you're going to stamp over the top of different mediums, this VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink is great because it has great coverage to go over whatever you're stamping on top of. So I've got a lot going on here. If I stamped with Oreo ink, I could probably get it with lots of impressions, but this is going to give me better coverage in a quicker amount of time. My one side squeaks on my stamp pad. And stamping these big ones, I definitely have to do multiple impressions on there. Sorry about my squeaky stamp pad. It's like the one piece of plastic on the one side is just a little bit loose, and so it squeaks when I stamp with it. Okay, so there's that one. All right, let's do this one next. What should we do in this one? Let's do this one. I'm going to stamp this actually twice on here. My original cards, I embossed my leaves in white. Which I think looked really good. And I'm just going to turn this upside down. Let's see where that lands. I think I want it curved just a little bit more. A little bit more direction. Now when I know that this is inked, I'm going to be pretty precise in how I set this down so that I don't get a double image on there. And of course I could clean it in between, but you know. All right. Well, there's that one. I kind of want to go back to this one and add just a little bit more. I feel like I stamped this twice on the other card and I really liked what that looked like. I'm just going to mask off. Let me see if I've got a Post-it note here. I could have my masking tape, I guess, but this works too. Like a little bit in that corner. Ooh, silhouette of a cyclist. That would look beautiful on these. There's so many different things that could work to do silhouettes or, you know, adding on some different images to your project. Yeah, I like that. Okay, card number 3. This one I'm going to do this one. A little bit of masking down here. Take this off so that doesn't go everywhere. Stamp that. I might have to put a few more leaves on the side of this one too. One more on this one. These leaves are pretty solid, so I was finding that this one definitely needed several impressions and a little bit of a heel of my hand to get extra pressure. There we go. Then let's do the leaves. Just a few leaves up in this corner. So we'll grab my Post-it note and cover up that card base. Yeah, it's like right here. See that little, this part is squeaking. And how I'm deciding where to place stuff, I'm really just looking at the image and kind of thinking what would go good there. The other thing about this is you can constantly use other things to balance your image out. And sometimes somebody might ask, how do you know if it's balanced? How do you know if it looks good? It's if it feels good. It's like if you, and it's hard to explain. If you look at it and if it feels good, it's good, right? And everybody has different opinions about what that is or how that works. But it is kind of a feeling that you have. And I think though too with this particular design, there aren't any really wrong answers here as far as how you need to lay things out. We'll do the kind of wheatgrass one on this one. And then we'll add the sentiments. My Misty is gonna need a bath. Woo! All right, and I'm going to do a little bit in this corner here. Just like lower down. So it looks like something else growing next to it. I think the other thing about this set is that the designs do kind of look like scenes. And so for people that abstract designs just feel kind of impossible or something that you're not into, these actually feel like here's mountains and the sun and everything, and they make sense. And they're also abstract at the same time. Okay. There I've got my silhouettes on there. Let's take a look at the 4 cards and then we'll add the sentiments on. Ooh, I am liking these. They turned out really good. I'm really happy. So I have sentiments from the More Signature Sentiments set, which is a fantastic sentiment set. It's got something for just about everything in there. So let's set these on here. That's feeling pretty good to me. So let me grab my adhesive and we'll attach those down. This is where my fingers are so messy, but everything is pretty dry on there. So I'm feeling like I'm okay as far as fingerprints go. But it happens, you guys. You know it. Everybody's experienced it, right? I love this kit too. It is a great kit. I feel like I need to come over here. Mary, you've got it in your cart. I think you'll have fun with it. I really do. And if you get the kit and then later you're like, oh, I don't even remember all the stuff that happened. Remember, you can go back and watch the videos on our YouTube channel, and you can come back and you can watch the you can watch this again, and you can watch Taylor's again, the live streams. Okay, I am in love with these matte gold enamel dots, and they are great. I love them because you don't have to add adhesive to them. And I just love that they're not super shiny and that sort of thing. So that's what we're going to add around the... I'm just going to sprinkle like 3 of them around the sentiment. 3 is kind of my magic number. I usually work in the odd numbers, and I'm sure you've heard that when they talked about in the design world rearranging stuff. But just to add that extra little touch of bling to your project. And I would say too, there's 3 sizes in here, and kind of my formula is I'll stick the littlest and the biggest kind of on the same side, and then pop up the medium one to create that triangle around my sentiment. This is something that I do all of the time. I don't think you guys are going to be sorry. I think this is going to be a really fun addition to your collection. It's different than a lot of the stuff that you probably have, and so it gives you a different opportunity to create in a new way. I have thoroughly enjoyed playing with this kit, and like I said, it's my daughter right away. That kit is awesome. She wants to play with it, so it may disappear off my desk, I'm sure, at some point. So there we go, all 4 of those cards with all of the different splattering textures in each of the sections. This is the Scotch roller adhesive, and I don't think it's in the store right now. They have carried this in the past. There's been a lot of supply chain issues with adhesive. So, yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. So I would definitely, everybody likes different adhesives and things like that. So you may have to explore some different options. So these are the cards that we just made, but we're going to lay, oh, and I actually use the same thing there. Isn't that funny how sometimes they do stuff like that? So there is that one, there's that one, and there's that one. So same color palette, same techniques that we did with splattering. Well, a little bit different. I combined different colors, and look at the different looks in the cards that we created versus what I created before. So totally different looks and effects that you can get, even using the same ones. Yes, Deb, with the scenic route, using those leaves with that, I think that would look really, really, really good. So I hope you guys enjoyed today. I'm going to flip you up to the top here. Hold on one second. I'm going to flip you up to my ceiling, and then I'm going to flip you up, and there we are. Hi guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed today. I hope you learned something new about splattering that maybe you didn't know before, and maybe it'll give you inspiration to try splattering and trying it in a new way on your projects. We want to see these projects on our Fans of Tailored Expressions Facebook page. So I hope to see some good splattering happening, even with your kit. Show me the splattering with your new kit. I want to see it. And maybe you find some other stencils in your collection that you can splatter with. So thank you guys so much for joining me. Have a great weekend, and make sure to stop by the blog this weekend and then join us next week for the Easter release. So thanks again, guys. Have a good day. Bye.